This was a little bit of an experiment at making a kind of stumpery using reservoirs from cut down 45-gallon HDPE blue barrels. So what I've got here, it's about a foot deep, and that's full of wood chip and sort of twiggy material. And then I've got a tree stump which is about 2 feet long, and then the bottom half of that is plunged down into that water, the reservoir, and then packed in with shorter logs and wood chip. And you can see, we can feel the outside, the trunk is really saturated and wet and damp, and then the bark is peeling away, and then that's really providing a habitat for lots of wood lice, and even worms are getting in there. It's just peeling away, so it's really hastening the decay of the woody material, which is the kind of plan really. I'll just have a little poke about here. So this is just mainly wood chip, and it's breaking down nicely. It's really nice mulch now, and you can see it's damp, it's not really saturated, so it's just quite nice conditions for worms and beetle larvae and wood lice really. So that's the plan there. So that was that one. That was about 2 feet long, so that's working well, and you can see it's really still wicking up water right to the top. This one is shorter but broader, and this one has broken down really fast, and you can see big boreholes in here from stag beetle larvae and wood lice, and then there's lots of worms around as well. But as you can see, this is more like a kind of hoverfly lagoon really. Yeah, you can see the hoverfly larvae there, and their little breathing tubes on the back, so I'll just put them back. So that's quite nice. So it's still another habitat, but obviously that's too wet for worms really. But it was just an experiment. I just had these stumps here, but I think it's quite a nice way of harvesting a bit of rainwater and then creating a habitat. And you can see that's really wet there, but obviously it's still wicking up water right to the top. And on this one there's lots of moulds and fungi as well. Interesting though, but only obviously you got the worms working in there, and then the centre part is really completely gone now. But what's quite nice about this is you can pick these up for nothing, and get some logs, put them in there, and that makes a nice kind of retaining wall. I think if you had a garden and it had a drop down and you wanted to make it safe and terrace it, but you didn't want to pay for lots of concrete blocks and do something quite sort of labour intensive, I think that'd be a nice way to do it, because these are really sturdy. That log's not going to move, and then you could really build that up a couple of feet tall, but make a superb habitat at the same time. So what I've got here, this is where my compost bins were. I think there's some galvanised mesh. Yeah, the galvanised mesh is under the base of the compost, where the compost bins were. And this is just wood chip that was around the bins that's broken down. But as you can see, it's worth mounding up this wood chip around the compost bins, because it gets the leachate or excess sort of nitrates and things from the compost, rather than leaching down to the soil. They get absorbed into that wood chip and it breaks it down really well. And then you get that additional volume of material. I had these plastic secondary glazing panels there, and that was just holding up the wood chip, so I mounted it right up to the top. But you can see there's some of the that mind your own business growing under there as well, so it's quite good. Even though it's shady, it's still doing alright. But what I'm going to do is take away this material, take the mesh out, and then set these up as the same sort of system in the school garden, and then I can start bringing the brewer's waste in and doing the same system there, which is really good. but on a smaller scale to start with until it's set up. Because obviously you've got to have the infrastructure in place before you can start composting, especially with brewer's waste, which otherwise will be eaten by rodents. So it's good to have the mesh there, but it's only pre-composting it, and then once it's pre-composted then it's fine. And there's the blocks that are going to go in front of the hatches to stop rats from getting round these quite poorly fitting doors.